behalf of Festival Directors Namita Gokhale, William Dalrymple, and all my colleagues at Teamwork Arts, welcome back to JLF's Brave New World, which has exceeded over 2 million views this week across 90 episodes. As we lead into our 100th episode, we would love you to post a short video on how JLF's Brave New World has impacted your worldview. You can do this on our email ID, contact@teamworkarts.com. And in case you missed any of our other sessions featuring His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Margaret Atwood, Uran Pamuk, Harvard Jacobson, Ravinder Singh, Devdutt Patnaik, Amish Tripathi, and so many others, you can view these on our Facebook page, JLF Litfest, or on our YouTube channel, Jaipur Litfest JLF. Our official radio partner is Red FM, Bajate Raho. Our session today is Defining Luxury. Tarun Tahiliani and Himanshu Wardhan in conversation with Nonita Kalra, presented in partnership with Etsy India. Tarun Tahiliani speaks of his signature fusion of traditional aesthetics and contemporary design. A conversation with Himanshu Wardhan and Nonita Kalra on the shifting definitions of luxury and the impetus to make quality and excellence accessible through digital outreach. Tarun Tahiliani founded his design studio in 1995. He started his professional career with a degree in business management from the Wharton School of Business, University of Pennsylvania, and after returning to India, he saw the vast potential in the fine clothing and couture industry that was evolving in the country, and in 1987, he opened India's first multi-designer boutique, Ensemble, heralding a fashion and retail revolution in India. Just yesterday, Tarun took his fashion label online and did the first digital fashion show. Himanshu Wardhan is a technology executive and entrepreneur with experience of building and leading businesses in India and the United States. He's currently the managing director for Etsy in India. His key focus is mobilizing and empowering the creative community in India and connecting micro entrepreneurs from different parts of the country to the world through the Etsy platform. Nonita Kalra has 3 decades of media experience in print and television. From 2016 to 2020, she was the editor of Harper Bazaar. Prior to that, she was the editor-in-chief of Elle India, where she spent nearly 13 years. Kalra has also written columns for the Indian Express, the Economic Times, and Forbes Life magazine. Please do remember to comment and ask questions by typing it into the comment section below. And in case any of you drop off due to bandwidth issues, you can find us on our YouTube channel, Jaipur Litfest JLF. And of course, if we drop off, just hang in there. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, defining luxury. Tarun Tahiliani and Himanshu Wardhan in conversation with Nonita Kalra. Over to you, Nonita.
Thank you, Sanjoy, for giving us what sounds like a really daunting task. The idea of luxury has completely changed from things that we coveted, from expensive handbags to holidays. I think the pandemic has taught us that we don't even know what we want. At one point, it was just even difficult to get your medicines or to step out to get fresh air. But it's been a really interesting time for all of us who are creative. And I'm thrilled to have Tarun and Himanshu with me because both of them sort of come from different ends of the spectrum. But what they have in common is that they're creative to their heart. I'm going to begin with you, Tarun, because we've had a lot of conversations about this period and what was going on. You sort of used the lockdown very differently from everybody else. You went into a shell, you decided to spend time with yourself, you took long walks, you actually enjoyed yourself. Can you tell me a little bit more about this process for you?
Sure. I don't even, it's a bit long-winded, but I'll try and keep it brief. I think all our lives have become so crazy. There are all these cliches, but the older I get, the cliches are true. The biggest luxury is time, the biggest luxury is your health, blah, 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 blah. And it means different things to different people. And I think culturally also, luxuries are very different things. Like I was saying to you, if I come home and someone's in that kitchen to make me hot rotis, that's a great luxury for anybody in the world. We might take it for granted here in India. It certainly is a luxury. But going back to what you asked me, when the lockdown happened, because it happened so suddenly, and we will not be able to, either realign or get computers out. I think I first went into shock. I think my body was in shock because it's never been stuck in a position. I was jailed at home, and it took me like a week or something even just to get used to that before I could start to see or realign myself into a new kind of daily routine where I decided to get up, you have to get dressed, you have to walk at your desk just to keep some sanity, because it almost made no sense. It was like you were cut off from your own limbs or something. So much of what we do revolves around the design studio and what it fuels. And slowly over time, and it was March and it was beautiful, I began to see, I've never spent more than like 10 days in this house in my bed. I've been here since the 18th of March or before, and I began to go back into another life. And sort of felt like I was back in doing school as a kid, where the summer would turn and you'd walk around and, different flowers would come into bloom and you'd smell things. And then going back also made you go back off your own treadmill that you are, which we all have got carried, but there's so much coming at you that at some point you start doing things out of automated response rather than really processing it internally. And to me, that was the biggest luxury of the lockdown, that forced me to really think about who I was as a designer. I went back to doing simple things like painting. Of course, I read a lot, but I just had the time to be still, because even if I go on a trip, I'm like, oh my God, okay, where am I? I've got to see this museum. It still becomes this manic thing. And I loved it, and I almost dreaded it when the lockdown ended, because I just had become another person. I had, like that lovely Derek Walcott poem. I mean, I just become morphed into something else that I had forgotten of myself. And naturally, of course, that impacts what you do. So when I went back to the studio in May, it definitely impacted, or took to a much greater degree things that I thought. For the longest time, I said, should a bride be wearing something that breaks her back and she can't walk? I mean, it's okay, you want to look rich, but that's new. So another thing we talked about is that for me, I find it very hard to generalize luxury, because luxury is for different things for different people. I mean, if you're hunting for your medication in a lockdown and you get it, sure, that's a luxury, but that's a short-term definition. I think for me, luxury is what something feels on your skin or the process by which you get it. An old friend of mine who's not alive always said she grew up with everything in our Nodi. She said, I don't wear logos. I put my hand into a bag, and the feel of that bag, I know whether it's luxury or not. Fast forward 20, 30 years into the new India, all over the Arabs, Southeast Asia, the Chinese. And because this is new money, they don't understand what that bag's meant to feel like. But they understand that if someone's wearing the logo, that it represents something which might be a culmination of luxury, heritage, whatever, different things. But it means that they understand luxury. It's a different code. It's not really necessarily about how they feel. And so I think as people go along, their own definition, as I've evolved and grown older, I know when I got that first Brunello Cucinelli sweater, I understood what luxury in a knit sweater was. And I will spend that money again, even if I have to buy one every 2 years, because it feels so beautiful. For me, that's luxury. Somebody else, it might be something else. Anyway, we went back to work, and I said that if my brand is going to be luxurious to myself, to be true to it, then I must adhere to the principles. So if someone says, do me a 25 kilo lehenga, I don't think it's possible, because it's wrong. I mean, once a woman came and described an outfit, and I said, I think you're describing Sunit Verma. And I quickly dialed him. I said, here, speak to her, go for this thing. So in the same way, we're going back to a much more, we were always artisanal. But I think we also got carried away, what I call the Rajokri syndrome, put more on. There are a lot of people who think that luxury is, either the big logo. So if you notice, even Raffael's little T-shirt that had the polo player that was this big are now almost half across a man's chest. That's the man who's saying, I need to show that polo player. You can see it from across the room, 50 meters away. That's not luxury, that's showing off. And then there's a lot of people here who think that luxury is what somebody else doesn't have. And that's not your experience. Luxury for me is your engagement with something. If you get a beautifully tailored jacket and someone knows what they're doing and you can fit it, and forget fitting, what it feels like, that it's like second skin, that's luxury. That engagement, and it'll differ from one person to another. but just buying into the big brand or the big logo. That's the nouveau, quick response. I've arrived. It's fair enough, nothing wrong with it. But I think luxury really is how you live and feel in something.
I want to tell you a really silly thing. When I was getting dressed for this call today, I found this dress of mine and I wore it for my second L editor's picture. And Narendra Kumar made it for me. And it was the first thing that was made for me. And he said, "What do you mean you've never had bespoke?" And I said, "You mean tailoring?" And he said, "No, I mean bespoke." And every time I wear this dress, I feel like I'm wearing my tracksuit, but it's a very ladylike dress. I guess luxury is a sense of touch, a sense of feel. When you talk about putting your hand into a bag, what Minal Modi told you, I don't know if you know this, but an Hermes bag is made inside out. They first make the inside, and then there's this moment one guy is about to
You
punch
told me
it
about
out.
it, yeah.
And your heart is in your mouth because you're like, are you kidding? You're touching a Birkin like this. And he punches it out and then starts to make the outside. I get that luxury is what it makes you feel like. And that's what brings me to you, Himanshu, because there you were with Etsy at a pandemic, at a time where everything is disrupted, right? You have this wonderful website that's about connecting the micro entrepreneur. It's about Indian craft. What did luxury mean to you at that point? Did you change how you were dealing with people? Did luxury mean that you were able to go out and service what people needed? What was that feeling for you, both as a businessman? And then I would really like to know what you felt like as an individual, because I'm not sure if the two of them are the same. With Tarun, they are the same. He has no filters, What he feels is what you get. But I'd love to know what you thought.
Sure, absolutely. Uh, Normally, when you really think about luxury, what imagery comes to your mind? Imagery that comes to your mind is an expensive brand, a lot of glitter, or a very rich look. That's a pretty traditional, normal definition. But when you really think about what luxury is, it is it is a lot more subjective than we actually think about. That the first imagery that comes to our mind, because a same piece of thing could be luxury for somebody else and could be a commodity for another person. To give you an example, if I am living in Jaipur and I have access to beautifully hand block printed fabrics and saris and all of this stuff right in Jaipur, it's a commodity for me. I can go out, I can buy it very easily. It's all over the place, so it's a commodity. If I'm sitting somewhere in Texas or in New York, and I've never been to India. I do not have access to these things. I've never seen it, I've just seen it in videos. For me, that is luxury. It might not be glittery. It might be made on a normal cotton fabric with beautiful designs. It's a luxury for me, and I'm willing to pay a lot for it. It might not give a rich look, from a traditional Indian point of view, but it gives a rich look when I'm wearing it in a different setting, which is a Western setting. So the point being here is that luxury is pretty subjective generally anyways, and it's really subjective to the extent of a particular individual of what luxury could mean. And also luxury, when we really think about the definition, it is also based on a particular point of time, and you and Tarun both touched upon it as well, is that at some point of time when you do not have it, then it's a luxury for you, or if you have less of it, it's luxury for you. So during the lockdown, a lot of commodities became luxury. Right now, a normal vacation, not a traditional luxurious vacation, is a luxury. A normal vacation could be a luxury as well. So that's kind of another angle or another dimension to look at when we think about luxury. Now, in these current times, as things have become more virtual and digital, and it just moved because it had to. So prior to these times, if you were talking about luxury being accessible through digital platforms, there would be a lot of people who would come and dismiss you off, like, it's about experiential, it's about in-person experience, you need to experience it, you need to touch and feel it before you make the purchase or before you engage in the process. Now everybody has accepted that this is probably this is the way that interactions are going to happen for some time. So luxury has then been redefined that, hey, you can interact with somebody digitally, whether through a call, a video call, through exchange of messages, and you can create.
I read something. I read a really great story in Vogue Business about how Reliance Luxury has been servicing all their customers through WhatsApp. Did you know this? And
I did, yeah.
there's a whole story about it, and I thought, how incredibly cool. I mean,
Yeah.
WhatsApp is more than those ghastly good morning messages with flowers. It's actually used now to communicate with the customer.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I think Etsy has been doing it at scale. Actually, is because across borders, because as a platform, what we do is we connect people who are making and designing the products directly with the buyers of the products, and this is globally. So we have buyer and a seller in nearly every country in the world. So now the luxury or the bespoke experience is not restricted to an immediate geographical area. It has now become a lot more accessible to any designer, also who's not even maybe technologically very savvy, can quickly sort of set up something online and start to demonstrate what they are doing digitally and start to have those interactions digitally across the world through a platform like this or other platforms as well.
No, so we have been saying this. We have been saying that there are two key changes in how we see luxury. One is customization. That is always luxury. Tarun, I know in your world, customization has always been luxury. But I think
I have a lot to say on this.
I do think that what we are talking about is accessibility, because luxury needs a larger audience. I think we need accessibility. And at some level, you need personalization. And by personalization, I don't mean someone fitting me, but the storytelling. And I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you going to say, TT?
Oh, sorry. No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. So I just wanted to respond a bit to some of my reactions to what Himanshu said. I said that maybe in India, people think that luxury is all glitter and everything. I disagree. That's from the wedding space. And because there's no couture, they're the most expensive, extravagant clothes made often out of a lot of Indian craft. I mean, my whole point at the start of this, if I see someone dying in 30 kilos, I don't care how beautifully it's made. She's some kind of masochist to be wearing something like this. So for me, it's a little different. I think that in India also, what's the most luxurious thing? A chartreuse shawl, which is banned. It's as plain and as brown as you can get. But God knows it is the most exquisite thing that we ever made over here. So I think there are lots of beautiful things that are here. Asha Sarabhai.
It's in this, right?
We go through a ring, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what Asha Sarabhai did with Miyake. I mean, it could be a simple Soma quilt or Brigitte Singh for muslin. There's many exquisite things. And just by the fact that they're going to be in a store, they are a commodity. Everything we do is a commodity, except when you're in that one-on-one engagement for a real bespoke experience. That's one kind of luxury. Certainly to make people accessible and to connect marketplaces, as Himanshu was describing, is fantastic, and it's a fantastic service, and it's what the digital world allows. But I'm not sure if that makes it luxury. You have the luxury of connecting, and yes, you can pre-alter or do things, but we're talking about two different kinds of luxuries. I mean, there's luxury in everything. To sleep in a house and be safe is a luxury if I want to compare it to somebody who's in the Sudan right now, because they don't have that luxury. So anything is relative. I think we're just kind of talking about two different things.
And that's exactly sorry.
And I want to say that Net-a-Porter said and has proved for a long time that luxury can be sold online. Unfortunately, if you cannot have the tactile experience of going to a store and having your retail therapy in that manner. I mean, everyone said Net-a-Porter was doomed, but it's now $1 billion company, So it's possible. Also, people need that luxury to shop online and have a sense of fulfilling. That's a luxury too. Sorry, Himanshu.
Yeah, no, that's exactly also what is the subjectivity of luxury, is that there's a traditional notion and then there's a sort of other two dimensions of luxury, which is about about accessibility at a particular given point of time and in a particular geography or with an experience. So that's exactly right. I think we kind of agree on that while kind of disagreeing a little bit on the subjectivity of the of what luxury could mean to different people, and it could mean different to different set of people.
But it has to. It also depends
Yeah.
on what your views are. My luxury is extremely different from 10 other people. I don't care if 50 people have the same thing I have. They come and say, piece of art, I'll say, make a Xerox, put it up. Doesn't take away my experience and engagement. Put it in your house. By all means, take it. So it just depends. I think it's too wide to be able to be generalized. That's all I'm saying.
I do.
Sorry, Nonita. So you have the hard task of trying
No,
to.
I like the example. I like the example that Himanshu gave us when we were chatting yesterday about the fact that, face masks sort of mobilized a lot of his micro entrepreneurs. And I know that at one side, luxury is bespoke, experience, craft. But I think the luxury of being able to switch your business, fulfilling a need, and finding value for yourself. And honestly, as the world changes, I don't know what luxury is, but finding value for yourself, as you did, Himanshu, you mobilized all these people and they did the face masks. I actually thought that was luxury for the people who were able to make masks. And I don't know if you want to elaborate on it or if you agree with me on this.
Yeah. So that's also in terms of how we traditionally think about how we would think about supply chains and the business models as well. So traditional retail, that is, or traditional brands that are built on the basis of mass-produced products, these current times, they were impacted because of the whole supply chain disruptions. For a platform like us, obviously mask was one thing where a lot of creative entrepreneurs who had some fabric sitting at their homes, who could quickly come and make non-surgical masks to be used by different people.
Sorry, Himanshu, when we make things, what we could qualify as luxury, they're made to the most exacting standards and they're checked inside out. How, if you're getting hundreds of people to do it, which is amazing, and I understand it's really, how is that luxury? Because the whole point of luxury is, well, it's the way we think, and there's nothing right or wrong, is that it's made to such precision and manufacturing so that it fits, it sits, it feels, it goes back to feeling. Could you all manage that in this way?
So actually, I have a slightly different perspective on something being too perfect, being more produced by a machine rather than made in a more unique fashion. So I think there's certain level
That's
of
like the Indian tag, the flaws are there, it's the nature of the fabric.
Yeah.
No,
So
anyway,
yeah, so that's one of the things. The other thing is also that we are a platform. We are a platform that would provide a creative person ability to come and sort of put out the products there, and all these people are collaborating with each other, and they are also competing with each other. So the beautiful part of it is the whole democratic part of it, where anybody or everybody who fits into the policy, who is kind of being transparent about what they are making and put the products online, can sell. But who would do well, who's consistently selling or making high quality products, or the products that meet buyer expectations, and they are the ones that get a lot of good reviews, and then the whole cycle takes over in terms of them becoming the most successful people on the platform than the others.
Himanshu, you're right. Democracy is a luxury. You're absolutely correct.
But it's a luxury. I mean, Nonita, what if you're comparing it to Burma? I mean, or to Pakistan? I mean, it's that. But that's why there are many definitions of it. I understand what you're saying, but the thing is, I'm also thinking that if I were to order the mask and I look at an image and I have a certain expectation of it, right? Whatever you order, you expect it to, whether touch, feel, to engage with you in a certain way. I'm amazed that you're managing, because if everyone's doing this on their own way and it's coming, there's no way, unless you're sending a pattern or checking, how does this get that consistency? And therefore, don't you run a risk for the customer engagement to be a little thrown off? I mean, from
So that's the whole part about actually digital collaboration and digital selling also. So quality is not defined by because everybody, like luxury quality is also subjective. Okay, so within cotton there could be different weaves of cotton, different qualities of cotton. So what is about setting the right buyer expectation and delivering that is about when you are uploading the product or when you are describing the product in terms of the imagery, in terms of the words that you use, you are as exact and accurate as possible, and that creates the buyer experience and expectation that, hey, this is what you are going to get. And it's only to one extent that you can go on a digital
well,
platform to
that is
describe
that way.
that.
And in fact, that's Nonita said something yesterday about now. I think this depends. All customers and consumers rely on this. The luxury that the storytelling is such an important part for
Yeah.
brands.
Stealing the words out of my mouth, Tarun.
Yeah,
I'll
as usual.
interject and stop you guys for a second. But I guess luxury is, and I mean, I guess there are different versions, and for different people, different things are luxury. What I do think from this conversation, what I'm hearing is that there's a disruption in just one notion of luxury that I can see, right? But I think what is going to be truly luxurious, and as someone in media, is the ability to tell a story, to communicate something. And Tarun, I'm going to come back to you because you did something really different. You did the first digital fashion show in India. Now they've already had them in Paris, and there were mixed reviews. Um, some people felt they couldn't see the clothing. Some people felt it felt too distant. But when I saw your show, and I had some commentary, but
Of
none
course,
of course, you know
of
me, I
course.
always have something to say to you. But at every point, I felt I could touch and feel the garment. And that for me felt really special. Um, what led to that? Tell me the whole process. Also, I
Well,
want to know
so
that the models were safe.
yeah, so in the
Sorry,
old days
Himanshu,
when
I care.
fashion shows began in Paris, they had the atelier shows every month. Chanel number 5 came out. It's like that on the 5th of every month, she produced the new designs, and these models
31
would
do
come.
come on.
Yeah, Rue Combon, and they would hold a number, and it was a very simple thing. So in a way, by having to do a digital show, we had to set ourselves back. And I said, start in the simplest way, but everything has to feel like you can touch it. Because especially on a phone where most people will watch this, I've no engagement if I can't feel like I touch it. And they got the best cameras, and we reverse them, on the pans and the close-ups. We don't need choreography, nothing. It has to be clean, and you have to have a sense of the likeness and all the emotional things we talk about. If the visual doesn't convey that, we fail. So I thought it was important. It kept us going because we were working towards something on a schedule. It was very important. I mean, we've had a fantastic response globally from our clients. And some of them say, listen, it's given us hope that we're not going to be stuck in this drabness. Maybe they're not buying. They have nothing to wear these clothes to now. But it's also, you're a brand and you do things on a schedule. And it's also important for my sense of purpose, for the people who work for me. We're working at a very, small staff compared to before. People are desultory. They're afraid of their jobs in future. But even someone just messaged me and said, oh, how's the response? Will we be working full time? It's many different emotions. Nothing is ever as simple as one thing. And so when we decided to do this, I mean, it's so clear. We have that beautiful mood board room. I painted all the cork boards to look like the cement. There's no budget to do anything. And we did a simple backdrop, no logo. And the entire floor around the courtyard in this factory of ours has many rooms for meetings and merchandising rooms and boardroom. So each room became a model fitting room. So we had in the big boardroom, there were 2 models, and we put them in. There were 6, 7 models, and we gave them their own bag as soon as they arrived with their bottles of water, so they didn't have to touch anything, and lunch came to them in the room, and they just came out to shoot and go back. So we had all these little tiny. I don't know why hairdressers are often 4'11". In hazmat suits, they look even shorter. So finally, I had to say, stand on a stool because Lakshmi is 6 foot tall and she's in 6 heels. You cannot do her hair from down here. So it was funny.
Let's not discriminate against short people.
I'm not discriminating. I'm saying stand on a damn stool
I'm
if you're
teasing
to the top
you.
there.
here's the thing, what the show did, and I think that's kind of really important for me. It didn't, you're right, it didn't make me make a shopping list because right now it would have felt inappropriate. But it did create desire, aspiration, but most of all, it left me with hope. And this is something
That's
Etsy,
what I've heard.
yeah, this is what Etsy's been doing for a while. Etsy has, they've worked with craftspeople, and this is only in India. Himanshu, am I right?
Yep.
Only in
Yep.
India do they help craftspeople tell their story. They've done a special collaboration with Dastkar, but what they have done, and I may be stating your company policy all wrong, but they've created a team of storytellers to tell the story of what India is about to India.
I love that. That's so amazing.
For
Yep.
me, that's my
That's
favorite part
amazing,
of
Himanshu.
everything we do, Himanshu, which is why I chose to hijack
So actually, like to put that in perspective, is very interesting for me because we took on we went to Varanasi and we try to understand the process how weavers currently are selling their products and making the products and connecting with the buyers. In most cases, they were not connected to the buyer. They were selling to somebody who was selling to somebody and who was
Always,
selling
yeah.
to the buyer
Always, yeah.
most of the time. So what we did, we went to Varanasi, and once we got deeper into it, first of all, there's a lot of difference, or at least what effort it takes in terms of a handloom and a power loom. When the realization came, hey, when you look at handloom and powerloom, there might be slight difference. But as soon as you start to tell the story that, hey, that handloom Banarsi sari is made by two weavers in 15 days, that has a completely different feel to about that sari. I mean, the product is exactly the same, but when you tell that and when you tell the story of that particular weaver, that particular weaver is supporting a family, he has been doing, he's a third or a fourth generation weaver who's been doing it, that piece of sari becomes a lot more luxurious, and in terms of the pricing, maybe like 3 or 4 times than what that weaver would get by selling it.
You're right.
But can I ask you one thing, Himanshu? While I agree with you, and it is always great to know the story, most people I know would say, okay, once or twice. Third time they say, damn, if it's the same, I'll just buy the palu. Most people actually, I'm sorry to be cynical, don't care. Maybe in the West they do. But I also think there is a difference in the feel of the product when things are made by hand versus a palu versus,
Yeah, that's right.
there is some difference that comes in where that hand or the unevenness of the hand, what you talked about in relation to the mass, it creates something which, if it's managed, actually is special and individualistic. And if it's left unmanaged, it could be like weeds in a garden. I mean, they're both extremes. But I think that's also part of it.
Yeah,
It's difficult to show online, of course.
As a customer, when I can see who made my clothes, and this is fashion's biggest movement, right? It makes me feel like the garment is intimate and closer to me. And we were talking about this yesterday, where I said, who made your clothes? That tag is going to be almost the next thing you have next to your washing instructions. And I think storytelling is going to be the only thing that's going to make this difference. I think we're nearly running out of time. I'm really, really sorry.
I think we have run out of time.
But I do think it's important to say that going digital is going to give us the kind of democracy, and it seems to be my favorite subject. It's going to give us democracy in fashion. It's going to give us democracy in our perception of luxury. We have a bunch of questions, which I'm going to ask you. Tarun, Aparajita is asking, how do you look at luxury in the middle of a pandemic? And I think this is interesting for both of you to answer.
How do I? Sorry, could you repeat?
How do you look at luxury in the middle of a pandemic? Is it even the right time to think about luxury?
No, it's not the right time per se. And I said right up front that I was in shock for a while. And then there were many things I got home to work and it didn't seem relevant for a month and a half or two. And I just left it and I used that time to just amble along and reconnect with myself. A pandemic, one lives in hope, Aprajita, and hopes that it's not going to go on forever. And if you're supporting thousands of people in artisanal clusters, you can't say, oh, it's a pandemic, I'm going to put the shutters down and sit there. You will simplify. I think the time has come. It's a giant reset for the world. That pace, that life, that crazy amount of consumption can't be sustained. So actually, you need more luxury. You need better quality things that will endure and that you'll use with pride 100 times instead of saying, "Oh, I'll buy this Zara thing and wear it thrice and throw it away because oh, they've copied the Chanel jacket and I just wear it. Doesn't matter, you know." That's what I heard a lot. Oh, I
Aparajita,
can't repeat it because
Aparajita, I
so
need to say that we also need inspiration. You know, luxury is not frivolous, a thing of beauty.
everyone thinks because it's expensive, it shows it's frivolous.
No,
It's not.
art is
Very hard work.
inspiration. Something beautiful is inspiration. Your mother's old sari is memory and inspiration. I think we need inspiration. Kamla is asking Tarun, how has your business
Yeah.
been affected by the pandemic? But you know what, Tarun, I'm going to just move this question to Himanshu because Himanshu's story
Well,
is
Himanshu, that's
really
a
cool.
great story compared
Yeah,
to mine.
Himanshu is a really cool story.
But then
Himanshu,
I must
I
tell
want
Kamla my tragedy anyway.
yeah, I want positive stories. Himanshu, tell
Yeah,
us.
it's actually it's not my story or it's Etsy's story. It's actually the story of the people who are making products and selling on Etsy. Is because when this the situation came into picture, we saw that in April and May our sales actually doubled. Why I talked about a little bit, because traditional supply chains were disrupted. Maybe a lot of our creative entrepreneurs from different parts of the world, they stepped in. World needed actually certain kind of supply, whether you can call them luxurious or not. World needed beyond masks also. It is not just about masks. It's about you still need like a good pair of pajamas that could be customized and that could be luxurious for you. So a lot of people stepped in, and our business really, in April and May globally, it doubled, and this is really because of our sellers and creative entrepreneurs who stepped in and played a very, very
I mean,
important
that's
role.
amazing. That really needs a serious
Yeah,
clap.
that does. That
I
does.
mean,
For the small,
it's making me very jealous in the blue corner. But anyway, I'll take a deep breath and contain myself.
Okay, our last question is from Namita Gokhale, and I'm thrilled that she's been part of this conversation. She's saying India has a long tradition of heritage and bespoke luxury. What is the essence of Indian luxury? And I'm going to flip this question a little bit. I think that the essence of Indian luxury is going to be defined by the new normal, and I hate this word, but there is going to be a new definition of Indian luxury.
It has to follow a reset.
Sorry?
It's following a reset, and it's a good thing.
But I would love for you to, I want to pin you down, pop up, and ask you, what is it? I don't want esoteric stuff. Himanshu, you go first because I know you will be more systematic. And then Tarun, I'm coming to you.
yeah. So luxury is, obviously Indian. We have known kind of Indian products. And again, like I think that's where a little bit of redefinition is happening. Earlier, either luxury was that were made for royal families or for royal things, or some things that were made by a localized person, whether it was bespoke, that was not luxury. That was like, somebody puts together something for you, and that's not. So how I think times have changed in India is that there's a new breed of people who care about artisanal products. What they are doing is that they are fusing the heritage of Indian way of arts and craft forms, and maybe combining them with more modern designs and motifs. And I think that's where it's going to be very, very exciting in next few years to come, of where luxury and Indian luxury will probably evolve.
And you, Tarun, because you wanted to interrupt him severally, but you stopped yourself.
No, I stopped. I've learned some manners in my old age. I think we need to become much simpler and offer luxury in every day. I hear Himanshu, and I don't think we should be thought of as luxury is this big glittering thing, which is done for weddings. And it is hugely associated with this. Nothing wrong. I mean, it's not incorrect. I want to also, because of what I've seen craftsmen go to, that we have said in our company, we have to do much simpler things with one chicken motor, one this, so we can run productions, get economies of scale, and actually bring it down to a much more accessible level. That it doesn't have to fall to Lal Bihari Tandon or something to get accessible chicken. That's modern, because the young generations wants modernity. Their lifestyle has changed. the way they dress the stage, and they're global citizens. They need to be unencumbered. And it's all going to a global world. And I think that one has to understand what one's going after, also combine it with needs and put together. It's a whole, yeah, I mean, I'm really thinking about new lines, not so many the techniques, simplifying things so we can make them real and accessible and not just ceremonial and over the top. And that's what I'm working towards now. It's great fun. It's amazing. It's really reset my head. It's been amazing.
So, Himanshu, there have been a lot of questions about your experience at Etsy and the challenges of building it up, because we've talked about this comfortable space you're in, and that's not even true because you launched in 2018, and the fact that you're here in 2020 and you're actually in a fairly comfortable space, but there's still a lot of challenges. If very quickly and briefly you could talk about it, because I have a lovely question after that. And if my eye look is not matching you guys, it's because I'm reading all the questions.
Yeah.
But really, it actually 2018 to 2020. Wow.
Yeah. So Etsy is actually like globally, we were started in 2005, 2015, we got listed in NASDAQ. I think the more incredible part is really globally how it has kind of mobilized people. And I'll talk a little bit more about India in that context, where there are about 2.8 million creative entrepreneurs, 83% of them women, 90% of them sitting in their homes. These are just incredible.
Work from home, clearly.
Yeah, there. So clearly, so it kind of that's one of the reasons that it became a natural platform of choice for a lot of people. Then, in India, we started our journey in 2018 by setting up the office, and what we have done is really mobilized a lot of craft people in urban areas and in rural areas, and provided them a platform to digitally display their products, exhibit their products, and then sell their products to buyers in nearly every country in the world by helping them solve for a lot of challenges, whether it's storytelling, whether it's shipping, whether it's payments. And that has been a very humbling experience, actually. I mean, to be honest, like initially, if I dial back 10 years back, I come from a very traditional background. I was a consultant, an MBA, and then last 3-4 years doing this has completely I get inspired every day meeting these small entrepreneurs.
Retail is a very humbling experience, that Tarun is going to tell you.
Yeah.
It will break your heart many times. Tarun, are you looking at me with great approval?
Wait, was that a question or something rhetorically stated?
But no, back to you, Himanshu.
Yeah, so that experience obviously has been very interesting, and also as we start to see that in general in India, there was already a movement starting to happen for more branded and standardized products towards more unique, special products that are bespoke, like Tarun talked about. It's not just about somebody making things to your measurement, but that's bespoke. Somebody has put thoughts in making it for you, and I feel that 20-25 years when the economy opened, everybody was running after brands. People try to move towards more bespoke experiences. This particular situation is going to fast track that transition to more bespoke and unique products and experiences over a period of time. And I think that will be a very exciting thing for where I am and what we do at Etsy. So I'm really excited about what future holds.
Himanshu, it's almost as if you've been reading the private chat section, because Ria.
Can I say one last thing, Nonita? I was reading recently, maybe 2-3 years back, about these super bespoke holidays in Africa, and how for $5,000, I remember, they'd organize a day picnic and they'd drive you out somewhere, and in those little wicker baskets, they'd take out a piece of gingham fabric and they'd put plates and give you sandwiches, and you'd sit there and have this picnic, $5,000. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, isn't this how we all grew up? We drive from Bombay to Lonavala, Delhi to Srinagar, and the basket would come out.
Soggy sandwiches.
Everybody, right? So
part of the experience.
We went a big way one way, now we're coming back. It's just the wheel of life. But the important thing is that at each stage, when you come back to it, think of it with some newness. And not just re-embrace as new, but know what we left and why we come back. So you embrace what you have and what you have right now and make it all better.
Thank you. I think this answers Ria's question. She said the whole idea of luxury should be about something that makes you feel. Thank you, Sanjoy. Thank you, Teamworks. Thank you, everybody who made this happen. Most of all, thank you, Tarun and Himanshu, for absolutely refusing to agree. What an incredible conversation. Thank you very
Thanks a
much.
lot, Nonita. You did a
Bye
great
bye.
job.
Nice to meet you,
Yeah.
Himanshu. Bye bye,
Yeah, same
Nonita.
here.
Bye
Nice
so
to
much,
meet you
Joy.
both.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Tarun, and thank you, Nonita and Himanshu, for that fabulous conversation. I don't know about you guys, but I think luxury is just being able to go out and have human contact, and of course, go out to your favorite restaurants and go back to the theater and
We
do.
clearly weren't discussing you, Sonjo, and what you're
Yeah,
doing.
I mean, really, everything that we thought was normal and possible, which is now not normal and possible. But thank you, the three of you, for that fabulous conversation. And I'm not sure, Nanita, what you were talking about disagreeing. We got different perspectives, different ends of the spectrum, and each, I think, sort of sits in its own space. So thank you for doing that so beautifully and gracefully. And to all our viewers, I'm sorry we couldn't take the rest of the questions because they kept streaming in. We'd like to thank Etsy for partnering with JLF's Brave New World, and of course our official radio partner Red FM Bajate Raho. And we hope you log back at 8:30 p.m. for our next session, Writing from the Brink. Brian Keenan in conversation with Salil Tripathi. Brian Keenan became headline news when he was kidnapped by Shiite militiamen in 1985 and held hostage in Beirut for 4.5 years. The intensity and horror of that traumatic encounter is recounted in An Evil Cradling. His next book, I'll Tell Me Ma, is a memoir about growing up in Belfast. In conversation with writer, journalist, and human rights activist Salil Tripathi, he speaks of the trauma of incarceration and the will to survive. See you at 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time.